Penguin Random House Audio presents The Illness Lesson by Clare Beams. Read for you by Anne-Marie Lee. For my daughters, Tess and Joanna. Divination seems heightened and raised to its highest power in woman. Amos Bronson Alcott. Conquered Days. Birds in their little nests agree, sang Beth. Louisa May Alcott, Little Women. Chapter 1. Birds Again. Ashwell, Massachusetts, 1871. Wonders, wonders. Miles Pearson, The Darkening Glass, page 4. The first of the birds Caroline mistook for her own mind's work. When the streak of red crossed the kitchen window pane, fast, disastrous bright, she thought it was some bloody piece come loose inside herself. Then her father appeared from the study and held the door frame, leaning in. "Caroline, did you see?" They found it in the yard. Real after all. High in their birch tree, pecking judiciously at the bark. The size of a dove, the shape of a crow, and a brazen crimson tip-to-tail feathers, the shade a cardinal might bloom to if dipped in wine. It had a crestless head, all sharp planes. As the hoods watched, it took a choosy bird step forward, then craned neck over back to root around in its wing. "No question at all," Samuel Hood said. His hand on Caroline's arm felt slight. This shock had dislodged his usual serenity, and in his face she saw old age, the way his features would fold in on themselves. To brace them both, she gripped his fingers. "Trilling hearts. Who'd have believed?" "A trilling heart," Caroline said. She had just one hazy red-tinged memory of the trilling heart's only prior appearance in Ashwell 25 years earlier. Standing barefoot in the grass of the front garden, 4 years old, and afraid to go down the path because of the bird that stood guard there, chopping up a worm with its brutal beak. Snip, snip, snip. Worm bits on the gravel. On the steps behind her, sewing in the sun, her mother. "What can this mean?" her father asked. "That there's a red bird in our tree." Samuel put a hand to his shirt front. When he was a boy, his appendix had almost burst before the surgeon managed to remove it, and in moments of great excitement, a heat and pain phantom seemed to revisit him. Sometimes Caroline found him with his fingers pressed there while he wrote, and knew he was imagining readers, roomfuls of them, schools of hands turning reams of his pages. "There is some significance," he said. The immensities of God's creation often whittled themselves down to make a message for her father. But in this, wouldn't anyone read meaning? The red flash, the answering thrum. "You know, it was your mother who named them," Samuel said, as if speaking about a person who'd stepped into another room. Caroline tried again to turn her 4-year-old head, to leave off staring at the bird and catch sight of her mother's face. "You never told me," she said. "I must have. Well, when we first saw them, a group of us out walking in the afternoon, just happening upon them in the fields, you can't imagine, she said they put her in mind of hearts, scooped right out of chests. Disembodied trilling hearts," she said. The bird's shape was wrong for this description, but its feel was right. The trilling heart looked like something safer left hidden, "Do you think David will be here in time to see?" Samuel said. As always, David's name sounded louder than the rest of the words. "And I must tell Hawkins. I'll write him today. Hawkins will know if there have been others spotted. He's told me nothing grows or flies or runs in Massachusetts without his permission." Caroline hadn't seen George Hawkins or any of the Birch Hill men in years, but she could picture the set of his mouth in delivering this not-quite jest. He was a physician, only an amateur naturalist, but the sort of man who never considered himself an amateur at anything. They all were. The bird raised its head again. Its black eye had the sightless sheen of a drop of oil. It tossed some bit of bark or insect back and swallowed it down, muscular throat squeezing. "I ought to send a drawing with the letter. Caroline, would you? You have a fine hand." She breathed in on the swell of pride that came when her father praised her, and stared at the bird to memorize it, so that in the drawing itself she might earn that praise again. She noted the shape of the head, the shining, sharp-looking lines of the wings, the beak like a long, cruel tooth, the sweep of the tail feathers, that red, improbable shade. The bird flew away before David arrived, so they went back inside to wait. Samuel wrote, and Caroline drew. "I wonder what's keeping him," Samuel said. But this was David he was talking about, his last disciple and unexpected hope. He didn't say more. In the confluence of Caroline's two projects, the drawing and the waiting, a strange suggestion was taking hold. Only one bird, she reminded herself. Still, she tried to capture the line of the bird's beak and thought, perhaps. She shaded its eye and thought, perhaps. Considering slowed her hand. Her trilling heart had only the basic outline of a back and head by the time her father hurried to meet David at the front door. From 2 rooms away, Caroline heard them clearly. The founders of the Birch Hill Consociation had tried to plug the drafts of this 100-year-old farmhouse when they'd bought it, but they were men with a greater affinity for ideas than for planks. "Astonishing," her father was saying. "I never thought I'd see them again, not on this earth. I'd forgotten their look. Such a red." "I wish I'd seen," David said, and Caroline wished for a basketful of trilling hearts that she might carry to him pinned against the shelf of her hip bone. Caroline must have nearly finished sketching by now. Before the door opened and they were upon her, she just had time to cover the page. "Caroline," her father said, flushed and smiling. "Not yet." David inclined his head, but her father went on. "Surely you've caught at least some part of the essence, enough to give David an idea." No 2 men in all the world to whom she would have been less willing to show a half-formed thing. "Just another half-hour. I'll bring it to you in the study." Her father darted with a boy's nimbleness and caught the drawing out from where she'd hidden it. He held it in the air and squinted. "Ah, well, not done. This is the basic shape, though, David. Nearly." Caroline's father had written a great and famous essay against cruelty, which scores of New England school children could quote from memory. She had seen him stop a man in the street who was striking his horse. "Oh, yes," David said. Samuel set the sketch gently back down on the tabletop. He led David to the study and closed the door. Caroline left the house. She strode off across the grass. She drove her legs forward as punishment. Her own fault, always mostly her own fault. And sweat prickled the back of her neck.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?